I'm the operator with my pocket calculator.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have heard many talks about sophisticated slide rules. These are very simple and raw ones. These do-it-yourself slide rules. And often the Russian slide rule books complain that there are not enough of them, and in other countries they are used much more. So in some slide rule books there are instructions how to make them. And of course and most of them have these scales printed. But the most difficult part is naturally the cursor. A short slide rule would be good because cursor is not needed, but none of these my examples that I have found use a short slide rule. One reason may be that they did not know about it, but another reason naturally that they wanted to have such a slide rule which those people who made and used these self-made slide rules would self-meet later in their life, like Mannheim and Rietz. But let's start with the first example. This slide rule book by myself, who was then teaching at the Mining Institute of Tsarin Ekaterina II, later doctor and professor of technology, specialist in light equipment. And the book looks like this. The front, there is one, and here is a text that there is attachment with the slide rule scales, which can be then clipped. And here is that page, and there is a scale which is glued from the left there, and in this example it has not been used, and the system is very simple. The slide moves in a groove, and the author says that it is simple, but you can demonstrate at least how slide rule can be used. There is some vague suggestions about the cursor, but no pictures. This is all about self-made slide rules that the book gives. Then a little bit younger book is Astronomer Kamensikov's, later also Professor, Tables of Logarithm and other useful tables. And this is for technical schools, workers working in professions where slide rule is needed. And this is second edition, which I have. There are 3 others. And there is a little bit about slide rules, not much. Now I do not even find, so there are 4 scales, but the instructions show that you should make 2 pairs of Günther-like slide rules fixed with a rubber band to each other. But of course, from these 4 scales, you could also build the Mannheim type slide rules like in the preceding example. Oh, this is, I cannot find now in the book. these pages, but it's not very important. Later, this same Kamensikov wrote a small booklet which is dedicated only to this do-it-yourself slide rule. The name is Self-Made Slide Rules. It's only a few pages long. I do not have original. This is a photocopy from Russian National Library. And this is also meant for technical schools workers, but not pupils of ordinary schools. And here is the system. It's made of paper which should be reinforced with some cloth or very thin cardboard, because now the scales are on different level and you cannot use thick cardboard. I made a simple example of this thing, but did not try to make the hairline. There are suggestions also that hairline should be made there using either hair there or then celluloid where this hairline has been printed. And there are now only two scales which have two parts from 1 to 100, but they are similar. And the title there, Kamensikov Self-Made Slide Rule. And here is an image of this, how it looks like when assembled. Then a little bit younger one is this Orlov's book. It's a general slide rule book, how to use slide rule, printed in 1934. And it has a real construction kit for making slide rule. And after I wrote this paper for the conference proceedings, I got more information from Russian National Library. I do have these scales printed on celluloid, very exact, but do not have this cardboard part. Here are the scales. And then Russian National Museum has also the cursor. With hairline, and there has been some folding. There is evidently some folding. I have not seen it, so I cannot say anything else about it. The scales are same as I have, and there is also cubic scale there. But here is cardboard with 4 pages. This is the, I could go to the following page. Here is the bottom piece and part 2 here, glued here, part 3 glued here, and slide is this number 4, and it is instruction piece. There is even the scales marked. This Seko means always the scale, and as you can see, the construction of groove is better so that it doesn't fall there. But this part 5 here on the sides, these are missing also from Russian National Library, and one can see that the body and slide are not on the same level, so the accuracy is not the best possible because of that. It could have been easily changed, but I don't know why it is so. But in 1934, 1997 came a decree that slide rules should be taught to every pupil, but evidently this order was not followed in practice. But then 10 years later, from 56 to 57 to 58, mathematics teaching problem contained 10 hours of slide rules for each 8th grade pupils. I obtained this information from Valery Silov, who attended school a little bit later, but said that he didn't have any slide rule. That were not taught to him at all, even though he would have his grandfather's very good slide rule at his disposal. So the problem was probably that the teachers did not know how to use slide rule, I believe. And not so much that there weren't enough slide rules. As a curious thing, I was also at the 9th grade in Finland when we were this slide rule use in 1950, from 1959 to 1960. And that is a little before that order, an article of Konstantin Obras, who evidently was a teacher, describing how to make a slide rule. And this is different from the others, that the scales are not printed, the pupils must self make them with the help of the teacher. And the unit here is 5 millimeters, because 5 millimeter squared paper should be used there. And there are two possible things. A better and more advanced system would be this, where the slide can be held in place, and the rougher elementary system like this. And as you see, there is only one scale with a very few tick marks, because they must be drawn by the pupils themselves, and then this logarithmic scale. And this is a little bit before this order came. But Obras wrote, together with Eppel, also a book for teachers how to use slide rules, and that was one evidence for that the problem was not the amount of slide rules, but the amount of teachers who did not know anything about slide rules. Then is a book of Kulikov, which is meant for teachers, how to make a self-made slide rule, from 1958. Clearly, just used at the same time when this new order of slide rule teaching came. And there are as many as 11 of these scales, full reach scales of 25 centimeters. So one can make 12 slide rules using this book. And from my example, 4 scales have been clipped away. So some of these have been made, even though I do not, unfortunately, have one example, and my Russian friends did not know anything about these self-made slide rules. So, and Kulikov's book has 3 different alternatives. First is simplified reach rules, where there are 2 different slides, one for normal R, V, R, and C scales, and the other for trigonometric scales. Otherwise, like this. And here is glue always mentioned. And this is not scale, it's a piece of thin cardboard or thin piece of wood. And here also the scale is not, slide is not in a scale but in a groove, so it can be held there. And glue is this Schleica. And there's also cursor drawings for the almost first time here. And glue there. And cursor mirrors. And this is the simplified reach rule. Then there is a normal reach rule, which is more, not necessarily more complicated, because now the body must be like this. There are exact measurements, and the slide is also more complicated. And on the back side, one must make now this arrangement to read them. So it's probably that the first alternative was most often used, but of course I have no evidence of that, but I believe that this was too complicated, even with the help of a teacher. And then the third version is a simplified one with only DC and R scales. So you must take only a part of this slide scales here, and from the above scales nothing. And for example, this cursor has not been drawn. It is thought that pupils can make it themselves at this stage, and this is now simpler than in the previous system. Kulikov also wrote a book for teachers how to teach slide rule use. So that's evidence of the problem that teachers needed help there. And from newer time, I have no information, so probably then teachers learned how to teach slide rules, and there were enough slide rules for pupils. So I thank you and express my gratitude to Karl Klein for help and many improvements, Valeri Silov for information about Russian schools, and Russian National Library for these photocopies of the material I do not have myself. Thanks.
Said differently, Shakespeare's plays. That's the plan for next year. When? Well, it's always sometime in September, at a date very similar to this year, namely 21st and 22nd of September 2018. So everybody, please take out your calendars, your agendas, and write it down. So, what? Yeah. So, and again, we have a theme, and if it's Shakespeare's plays, it has to be something with that. So it's from sonnets to psalms. Okay, you know what to do. Everybody, pick out, go to the bookshop, read your Shakespeare again, find good quotes to make nice presentations. Yeah. Everybody has to do so. So you recognize the quotes during the presentation, please. Yeah, it's at the Stratford Hotel. The Brit and the English have also a certain tradition, namely to make a display that is to call out and for people and bring along their specific thing for this theme, for display, and that is early British rules and second theme, long scale rules. So again, dates we need, a certain notice to intend the paper so that they know what's going on, deadlines and all that. And the important thing is they're really hurried to have those things, everything ready. You can read that all on a website. But first, I have to give a warning or an information. First, there is this place, Stratford-upon-Avon, south of Birmingham. That's the place. But there are several other Stratfords in Britain. Please, Stratford-upon-Avon. What else is on the map? There is a place called Milton Keynes, which is actually not meant, but a place nearby. Actually, a place nearby, something about here, yes, where we already have been in 2012, namely Bletchley Park. And this is just a reminder, anybody traveling to Britain, that they have there the National Museum Computing, and of course there's also a display by the UK SRC, by the UK slide rule collector. So go along there, have a look even more, and if you've been there, just a refresher, because lots of that is refreshed because many things there belonged to Colin Burns and were sold a year ago. So plan your trip. This is a view of the hotel. And most important is, next to the date you wrote in your notes, that you write down this web address, this URL, UKSRC or UK, you should know that, and I am 2018.